Maya Jenkins stands by the kitchen window, her gaze fixed on the cracked windshield of her husband's old pickup truck. Marcus climbs inside, his movements familiar but tired. The engine starts, its low rumble breaking the early morning silence of their quiet Atlanta street. The truck pulls away, fading into the gray dawn. Atlanta is a city of contrasts. Just miles from this modest neighborhood, towering skyscrapers glint in the sunlight, symbols of wealth and success. Here, though, life tells a different story. Narrow streets lined with modest homes, where every dollar counts and dreams often feel just out of reach. Marcus Jenkins is a man shaped by hard work. For over a decade, he's been a foreman at Platinum Construction, overseeing long hours and tough crews. He's built more than buildings. He's built a life rooted in steady effort and quiet pride. But with each sunrise and long day, there's a cost. The wear shows on his hands, his face, and sometimes, in his silence. Inside their home, clean but cramped, Maya moves with a restless energy. At 32, she feels the weight of expectations, not just from Marcus or society, but from within herself. Once, she dreamed of more than this life of routine and restraint. She thought she would build a future filled with promise for her and their 7-year-old son, Elijah. Elijah laughs in the next room, a bright sound that briefly lifts the heaviness in the air. But Maya's mind drifts, caught between the life she hoped for and the reality she faces every day. A life of sacrifices, compromises, and quiet frustrations. What happens when the life you built no longer feels like yours? When the dreams you held start to slip away? One missed opportunity at a time. Maya doesn't have the answers yet, but something is shifting beneath the surface of this ordinary morning. Something that will change everything. Before we dive deeper, let us know where you're watching from in the comments below. We love seeing our global community come together. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps more people discover our stories and supports the growth of the channel. Thanks so much for being here, and let's move on. Maya's phone glows softly in the dim light of her living room. She scrolls through social media, her thumb moving almost automatically. Pictures of old college friends flash by, smiling faces in sprawling homes, expensive vacations, new cars, lives that seem a world apart from hers. Each image presses on something deep inside her. Not jealousy exactly, but a quiet reminder of promises unkept, of paths not taken. She wonders how their lives grew so different, and whether she made the right choices. Her days at the small administrative firm feel like a slow drain. Stuck behind a desk, handling endless paperwork and phone calls, Maya feels invisible, underused. The dreams she once nurtured in college, of a career, of making an impact, seem distant now, overshadowed by routine and quiet disappointment. At home, the tension simmers. Marcus and Maya argue over finances. Nothing loud, but sharp in its way. Marcus shakes his head when Maya mentions private school for Elijah. "We can't afford it," he says, the frustration clear in his voice. For Marcus, their life is about making do, about steady work and careful saving. For Maya, it's about wanting more, for Elijah and for herself. Later, Maya confides in her sister over a phone call. Her voice softens as she admits, "I had so much potential. I still do, I think. But it's like I'm stuck." Her words hang in the quiet night, a confession and a question all at once. Despite everything, Maya's mornings are a ritual of care and pride. She takes time on her appearance, the small details that remind her who she is beneath the weight of everyday life. Her reflection shows a woman determined to hold onto something: beauty, dignity, hope, no matter what. But beneath the surface, the cracks are growing, and Maya's restlessness is beginning to pull her in directions she never expected. The annual Platinum Construction Family Barbecue was a carefully orchestrated event, equal parts celebration and subtle display of status. Families from all levels of the company gathered at Westfield Park, a sprawling green space that buzzed with the chatter of colleagues and the playful noise of children. The air was thick with the smell of grilled meats and freshly cut grass, but beneath the laughter and casual smiles, something else was quietly at play. Dominic Westfield, the company's CEO, moved through the crowd with effortless charm. At 45, He was the kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice to command attention. His presence filled the space, calm, assured, and unmistakably powerful. His tailored suit stood out among the more casual attire, a reminder of the world he belonged to. Maya kept her distance at first, watching Dominic from across the picnic tables. She noticed how the company's other wives spoke to him, their voices hushed and deferential, always careful not to overstep. But his wife, Evelyn, was treated differently. She moved through the gathering with a quiet grace that seemed to demand respect rather than ask for it. When Dominic smiled at Evelyn, the warmth in his eyes was clear, far removed from the polite smiles exchanged with others. Maya felt an unexpected pang as she observed them. The gulf between her world and theirs felt wider than ever, not just in wealth or status, but in something intangible, a way of belonging she'd never known. Summoning a bit of courage, Maya approached the buffet table carrying her homemade dessert, a layered peach cobbler she had baked the night before. As she set the dish down, Dominic's gaze landed on it. He stepped closer, his interest genuine. "This looks exceptional," he said, his voice smooth but sincere. "You have an eye for quality." Maya blinked, caught off guard by the compliment. It was simple, but it carried weight. In that moment, it wasn't just about the dessert. It was about being seen, noticed, appreciated. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. Marcus, unaware of the subtle exchange, approached with a wide smile. "This is my wife, Maya," he said proudly. She made the cobbler. Dominic extended his hand. "A pleasure, Maya." Their hands met briefly, but the moment stretched. A look passed between them that lingered longer than politeness should allow. Marcus caught the handshake, but missed the silent communication beneath it. Around them, the party continued, children chasing each other, co-workers sharing jokes, but the air between Maya and Dominic had shifted. Something unspoken had begun. As the afternoon wore on, Maya found herself drawn into conversation with Dominic. He asked about her life, her interests, her dreams, questions that felt less like small talk and more like an invitation. His attention was focused, intense, and unlike any she'd experienced in years. Marcus watched from a distance, pleased to see Maya engaging with company leadership. He believed this could be good for her and for their family. But the careful observer might have noticed the subtle hesitation in Maya's smile, a flicker of something unsettled beneath her polite nods. When the barbecue finally wound down, Dominic's parting words stayed with Maya. "You have potential, more than you know. Sometimes, it just takes someone to recognize it." Maya returned home that evening with thoughts swirling in her mind. The life she had felt stuck in suddenly seemed less certain. The future was no longer just a path to follow. It was a question mark. Little did she know, that day at Westfield Park was the first step toward a journey that would test every part of who she was and challenge everything she believed about love, loyalty, and ambition. Marcus Jenkins had worked hard for every step he climbed at Platinum Construction. When the promotion came, leading a major new project, it was a moment of pride, but also a new challenge. The job demanded long hours and overnight trips, time away from home that stretched the thin thread, holding their family together. At the same time, Dominic Westfield announced the company's annual gala fundraiser. This year, attendance was not just encouraged, it was expected that spouses would be present. The invitation came with an unspoken message. Appearances mattered, and this was an opportunity to show a united front. Maya felt the pressure immediately. She wanted to belong in that world, to stand beside Marcus with confidence. But the dress she owned was not enough for an event like this. So, quietly and without telling Marcus, she went shopping, beyond what their budget allowed. She chose a dress that made her feel seen, even if it meant hiding the cost and the credit card statements. The night of the gala arrived, and the venue was filled with glittering guests and soft music. Marcus moved through the crowd with a sense of duty, proud but clearly out of his element. Maya, on the other hand, shone. Her dress caught the light, and conversation seemed to follow her like a quiet spotlight. Dominic noticed her immediately. Later in the evening, Maya found herself alone at the bar. The room felt vast and unfamiliar. Dominic approached with a glass of champagne in hand. "You don't belong in the shadows," he said, his voice low and confident. The words caught Maya off guard. It was more than a comment. It was an invitation, a promise. In that moment, the space between her world and Dominic's seemed smaller than ever before. Marcus remained unaware of the subtle shift happening beside him. But for Maya, the night was just beginning, and the choices she made would change everything. The morning Marcus left for his 3-day work trip, the house felt quieter than usual. Maya stood at the doorway, watching as his weathered truck disappeared down the street. The absence left a space she hadn't expected to notice so keenly. Not long after Marcus was gone, Maya's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. The text was simple but direct, an invitation to lunch to discuss opportunities. The sender was Dominic Westfield. Curiosity mingled with hesitation, but Maya agreed. The restaurant was upscale, its polished interiors far removed from the life Maya knew. As she entered, she spotted Dominic already seated, waiting with a calm smile. Their conversation began with the promise of something new. Dominic offered Maya a position managing the company's charity foundation, a role that promised visibility, responsibility, and a chance to prove herself beyond the constraints of her current job. As the lunch progressed, the talk shifted, from business ambitions to personal disappointments. Maya spoke quietly of feeling overlooked, trapped in a life that wasn't quite hers. Dominic listened, his eyes attentive, his presence reassuring. When the check arrived, Dominic reached across the table, his hand resting briefly over Maya's. The contact was small, but it sent a clear message. "Our secret for now," he whispered. Maya nodded, aware that this moment marked a turning point. A line crossed from possibility into something far more uncertain. The path ahead was no longer clear, and the choices she would make next could change everything she thought she knew about loyalty, desire, and the cost of ambition. Maya began her new role at the Charity Foundation with cautious hope. Her office was close to Dominic's, a subtle reminder of the space she was stepping into. The days grew longer, filled with meetings, event planning, and a steady stream of responsibilities that made her feel both challenged and alive. Marcus watched from the sidelines. At first, he was proud, telling friends and family about Maya's new job. But as weeks passed, he noticed subtle changes. Maya's late nights became frequent. Weekend work events appeared suddenly on her calendar. Her smiles sometimes felt forced, her explanations vague. One evening, after the office had emptied, Dominic invited Maya to stay and review upcoming projects. The conversation was professional at first, but the air between them shifted. Words softened, glances lengthened, until finally a kiss, unexpected, urgent, and full of the emotions neither had spoken aloud. The next day, a small package arrived for Maya. Inside lay an expensive bracelet, a gift for her hard work. Dominic's note read. It was a symbol, a line crossed, a new chapter written in silver and gold. Maya found herself weaving stories to cover her absences, skillfully navigating Marcus's questions, deflecting concern with practiced ease. The tension grew, but so did the thrill. The affair deepened one night at Dominic's penthouse, high above the Atlanta skyline. The city lights stretched out like a sea of stars below them, a dazzling view that felt worlds away from Maya's ordinary life. There, in the quiet luxury of that glass tower, boundaries blurred and the stakes rose. Maya stood at a crossroads, pulled between the life she knew and the possibilities opening before her. Every choice carried a weight, every moment held a secret, and the path she was on would soon lead to a reckoning no one could escape. Maya's world shifted one quiet morning when she found the small, unmistakable sign, a positive pregnancy test. Alone in the pristine bathroom of a luxury hotel, she stared at the result, the reality settling over her like a heavy fog. The timing was clear. There was no doubt in her mind. This child could only be Dominic's. The revelation sent a shock through her. What would Marcus say? How would this change everything? In the days that followed, Maya tried to hold the pieces together. She sought closeness with Marcus, attempting intimacy as a way to maintain plausible deniability, to create a story that might hold. But inside, the truth burned bright and impossible to hide. Dominic's reaction was unlike anything she expected. Instead of fear or hesitation, there was possessive excitement, a quiet confidence that this child was his future, a bond that could not be broken. He spoke of possibilities, of new beginnings, as if the pregnancy was a prize rather than a complication. Behind the scenes, Dominic moved quickly. Without Marcus's knowledge, he began arranging the purchase of a house, a place for Maya and the child he claimed as his own. It was a silent promise, a claim marked in real estate and whispered deals. Maya was caught between two worlds now. The man she had married, unaware of the full truth, and the man who was staking a claim on her and her unborn child. Each day tightened the noose of secrets and lies. Every choice carried weight. Every silence held meaning. And as the lines blurred, the question remained: how long could this fragile balance hold before it all came crashing down? At first, Marcus noticed Maya's subtle changes, with a mixture of surprise and joy. The slight morning sickness, the quiet moments when she seemed lost in thought, it all pointed to something new, something hopeful. He imagined a future growing fuller with the arrival of their second child. But that hope soon met shadows. At work, a passing comment from a colleague stirred doubt, a whispered suggestion about Maya's close relationship with Dominic Westfield. Nothing direct, nothing confirmed, but enough to plant a seed of suspicion. At home, the tension grew. Maya's sister reached out, concern clear in her voice. She confronted Maya about the changes she'd seen, the late nights, the evasive answers, the distance that wasn't there before. Maya deflected, but the questions lingered, pressing at the edges of her carefully kept secret. Meanwhile, Dominic's presence became more insistent. His words grew sharper, less patient. "I want what's mine," he told Maya during one tense conversation. The promise in his voice was no longer gentle encouragement. It was a demand, a claim. Maya began to see cracks in the man she'd once admired. Beneath the charm, there was control, an urge to possess not just her, but the life growing inside her. His excitement over the pregnancy felt less like celebration and more like ownership. Caught between Marcus's growing concern and Dominic's relentless pressure, Maya felt the walls closing in. The choices before her were no longer simple, and every step forward pulled her deeper into a web of secrets and shifting loyalties. With the stakes higher than ever, Maya faced a question that would define everything. How far was she willing to go to protect what, and who she loved? Marcus was sorting through some old boxes in the storage room, looking for Christmas decorations, when a small, overlooked receipt caught his eye. It was for prenatal vitamins, dated weeks before he and Maya had been intimate. The date didn't add up. A knot tightened in his stomach. Around the same time, Maya's sister let slip something unintended. She mentioned seeing Maya at a restaurant across town on a night Marcus believed she was working late. The careless comment hung in the air between them, unspoken but heavy. Marcus's suspicions grew. Late one evening, he sat at the kitchen table with Maya's phone and his own, scanning call logs and messages. An unknown number appeared repeatedly, its presence unexplained. The pattern was unsettling. Driven by unease, Marcus asked a friend at the company for help. Security footage from the parking garage showed Maya and Dominic embracing in the shadows, close, familiar, undeniable. The evidence piled up, closing in on a truth Marcus wasn't ready to face. Still, beneath the weight of betrayal, a new discovery added a chilling layer. Among the stored boxes, Marcus found a gun he had forgotten was there, tucked away but ready. The gun was a silent presence, a shadow of possibilities that had not yet come to pass. As the walls closed in, Marcus stood at the edge of a decision that would change everything, for Maya, for Dominic, and for himself. The fragile balance of their lives was unraveling, and soon nothing would be the same. Marcus sat across from Maya in their living room, the evidence laid bare between them. The receipt, the calls, the security footage, all points that could no longer be ignored. His voice was steady but cold as he confronted her. "Is it true? Are you carrying his child?" Maya's facade crumbled. The weight of months of secrets pressed down, and tears spilled as she confessed. The affair, the pregnancy, everything she had tried to keep hidden came pouring out. She looked at Marcus, broken and vulnerable, begging for forgiveness she wasn't sure she deserved. Marcus's response was sharp, a command edged with pain. "You need to leave. Now," she pleaded, desperate to stay, to salvage what was left of their life. But Marcus was resolute. the trust shattered beyond repair. In a moment of anger and hurt, Marcus called Dominic. The man on the other end answered with a cold, mocking tone. "She upgraded," Dominic said. "So will my child." The words struck deep, a cruel reminder that Maya was caught in a struggle where she was seen less as a person and more as property to be won or lost. Maya faced a terrifying reality. Two men claiming ownership over her and her unborn child, neither willing to see her as anything more than a prize. Trapped between loyalty and desire, love and control, Maya's world narrowed into a dangerous game, one where every move could have irreversible consequences. The revelation was not an end, but the beginning of a conflict that would unravel lives and force choices no one was ready to make. Marcus moved with quiet determination in the days that followed. He emptied Elijah's college fund, money set aside for a future now uncertain. He bought a new suit, something sharp and serious, and got a haircut that erased the tiredness from his face. Every action was a preparation, a step toward a confrontation he felt was inevitable. Maya reached out to Dominic, her voice low and urgent. She warned him. Marcus knew everything. The secrets, the lies, the truth of the affair. Dominic's response was cold dismissal, a challenge wrapped in arrogance. "Let him come," he said. Then, with a calculated invitation, he asked Maya to join him at his glass house in the mountains, a place of luxury and isolation, where power was on full display. Marcus tracked Maya's phone, each movement bringing him closer to the place where their lives would collide. He drove through winding roads, the weight of what was to come pressing heavy on his mind. At the glass house, Marcus arrived unannounced, a gun in hand. Inside, Dominic and Maya spoke quietly, their conversation filled with plans for a future that excluded Marcus. Dominic's arrogance did not waver. "You were never enough for her," he said, his words sharp and cruel. What happened next shattered the fragile balance. Shots rang out. 3 lives forever changed in an instant. Both Dominic and Maya fell, victims to the rage and despair that had been building beneath the surface. Marcus turned the gun on himself, the final act in a story marked by betrayal, ambition, and heartbreak. The tragedy at the glass house was the end of one chapter, and the beginning of a reckoning that would ripple through the lives left behind. The glass house, once a symbol of success and power, became a scene of tragedy. Police officers moved with methodical precision, gathering evidence and piecing together the events that led to the shootings. The quiet mountains echoed with questions: why, how, and what next? News of the Platinum Construction tragedy spread quickly. Media outlets covered the story with a mix of fascination and sorrow. Headlines speculated on motives and secrets, painting a picture of a family torn apart by betrayal and ambition. Funerals followed, each one a reminder of lives lost and futures stolen. The community gathered, friends, neighbors, colleagues, all struggling to make sense of the pain. Marcus, Maya, and Dominic became names tied forever to heartbreak and loss. Elijah, too young to understand fully, was taken in by Maya's sister. The little boy's life changed overnight, carried forward by a family trying to hold the pieces together. In the quiet of Maya's sister's home, an unsent letter was found, a final message from Maya herself. Written in trembling hands, it spoke of regret, fear, and a longing for forgiveness. A window into a soul trapped by choices and consequences. The story of Maya Jenkins and those around her is a stark reminder of how love, ambition, and desperation can collide, with results no one could have imagined. And though the tragedy has ended, its echoes will continue to shape the lives left behind, a lasting shadow over a shattered family. Thanks for watching the story unfold. If you found this video gripping, please like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more intriguing stories just like this. Don't forget to share it with others who love a good mystery. Be sure to check the end screens for more videos and explore the channel for even more captivating content. Stay tuned. There's plenty more to come right here.